I am from Sage, although I have been with the company for 15 years and started with Intacct and then through acquisition became part of the Sage family. I'm a principal solution consultant. What that really boils down to is I'm a product person. So I work with companies and organizations in the very beginning of their selection process. Sage is a well-known enterprise software company. We are headquartered in England. However, we have multiple offices across different countries. I represent North America and Canada, but I work with all of the different locations that Sage is currently selling the Intacct product. We sell through a direct channel and also through a reseller channel. So thanks again for the opportunity to be with you today.
All right, thanks, Linda. And JC?
Hi guys, my name's JC Franz and I'm Director of Product at Bill. I'm over our sync integrations and our cash flow intelligence tools. I've been at Bill for 12 and a half years prior to coming to Bill. My background's in accounting, so I've sat on the other side of the desk when tech has either been great and simplified my life or when it hasn't been so great, and there's definitely been times where the struggle's been there. Here at Bill, Bill is the premier financial operations platform for small and mid-sized businesses and definitely for our accounting partners like Consero. I've been partnering with Consero and Sage Intacct for the entire 12 and a half years that I've been here at Bill, and it's an exceptional relationship. We're very focused on taking those tools that the Fortune 500 have and bringing those to the Fortune 5 million.
Thanks, JC. Appreciate that. And last but not least, Shrish.
Yeah, hi, I'm Suresh. I'm the director of product for SpendHound. I've been with SpendHound for the last 3 years now, from when we started with, just an idea now to where we have well over 1,000 customers. For those of you who don't know, SpendHound is a software vendor management platform. So what we specialize in is telling you exactly what software you're using by integrating with tools like Intacct and Bill, and then helping you negotiate the best price on that software using our benchmarking intelligence tools. We are probably the newest partner of Concero's, but definitely excited to be here.
Thanks so much. Yes, I look forward to having SpendHound almost be like Bill and Sage, where when I turn my monitors off at night, the logos of those two companies kind of stay there a little bit longer than the rest of the screen. So that's how much I've used Bill and Sage in the past. So they've been great partners with Consero. Again, Consero is the company that does finance as a service. We use a lot of these platforms to support our clients, and you guys have been great partners with us in making our clients successful. So thanks again. And again, we're here to talk about, of course, just kind of AI and automation in finance software. So, great kind of opportunity here to kind of see where each of your companies are with that. And I wanted to ask Linda, just how are you integrating AI today? You have a long history of financial management software. You're such a big player in this space. What are you doing to kind of modernize that core accounting process and by also kind of without kind of taking away from what's considered your really kind of trusted output and just kind of what your business is so kind of really great at.
Absolutely. So we have been around for a long time, and we are one of the top financial management solutions in the cloud. What's maybe not known about us, and even some of our customers are not as knowledgeable that we've been involved with AI for almost 10 years now. And we have been embedding AI into our product line. To our customers and for our customers, we have created AI that is purpose-built. It's purpose-built for accounting and finance offices. And when I say purpose-built, it really is outlined for, helping them eliminate or reduce those manual activities that they're doing. So when you look at any organization, there are some key areas where we play very well with an AI solution. And we've embedded it into product again so that our customers are taking advantage of it and sometimes don't even know it. In identifying where we wanted to play in the product with AI, we looked at those core processes. every organization pays bills, and every organization also goes through a close or a month-end process. So our initial focus was in those two areas. And what we found is that not only was it an efficiency improvement, but it really eliminated a lot of the day-to-day activities that people were doing, the manual transactions. So just having the ability to streamline and automate processes is what we went for. And we've been continuing to build out that AI story over the last several years. And we're not done. We're going to continue on with that AI journey.
All right, thank you. And JC, and I know that, Bill is known for kind of complementing Sage with this kind of automation around the AP, AR side and payments. How is AI enhancing these kind of automations today within Bill?
Yeah, great question, Tim. So, one of the most important things that any AP automation system can do is really the integrations with the GL partners, making sure that everything flows seamlessly. So when we think of it and we're top of funnel and we have those vendor invoices that are coming directly into the bill inbox where your vendor has sent those invoices, we have been developing AI agents that pick those up and that automate the coding of those invoices, not just at the header level, but to a granular line item level. Bill is sitting on literally hundreds of millions of documents, even within a single account, learning from your behavior on how you coded those invoices last week or the week before, and thinking about certain industries, certain verticals where your invoices may be 100, 200 lines. I think back to early in my career as an AP clerk, manually keying those on the 10 key side of my keyboard. If you ever hit tab one too many times, Tim, it's bad. It's really bad. Suddenly you notice and you're like 5 rows down and you were one cell off and you were coding, the GL and the class department, the location, and everything is just a disaster. With AI agents picking that up, it takes care of all of that for you. There's no worry about fat fingers, hitting tab too many times, being one, a row off. There's no worries about having your AP clerk spend hours looking up what the coding should be, comparing to past invoices. AI handles all of that for you seamlessly. And then you start layering in things like smart approvals, routings, anomaly detections, where if I'm always expecting a bill from PG&E Power on the 15th of the month and this month it's missing, we want AI to be highlighting that for us. Or, wow, I've already entered the invoice 123 for Acme Inc. this month, and now I get another copy of it in my inbox. That's what we want AI to be catching. And we do. And we catch it seamlessly. And then we take all of that great information, those coded invoices, those approved invoices, and it's like magic. It's just poof, now it's over in Intacct with all of the coding in place, all of the accuracy in place, and users can have complete confidence in that. And it's really about those relationships because AI is not going to solve it alone. Integrations aren't going to solve it alone. It's the combination of AI integrations, automation of workflows to be able to create the efficiency that our users are really looking for, that they need.
Yeah, and it just seems like now more than ever, it's becoming more kind of commonplace that you have that and that's part of just part of your day-to-day life from that perspective. The same, the same thing, my kids don't remember a navigation in the car without having maps or things like that. And we had physical maps. So things like this are just becoming more and more. Shrish, with SpendHound, I know that your business focuses heavily on spend visibility and optimization in this space. How are you using AI, to help finance teams uncover, some of these, possible opportunities that they might otherwise not even notice?
Yeah, I mean, we use AI pretty heavily in our process. If you think about what we do, we're taking in all of the vendor spend data from our customers and then having to sort of come up with insights of like, are there duplicative licenses? Are there redundant software? Are you paying the best and fair price for these tools? And to have to try to generate those insights and going through millions of transaction rows across all of our customers, the only way to process that at scale is using AI. So yeah, it's a pretty important part of what we do, and it'll continue to be so as we go forward.
I
That's
just
great.
have to give a shout out for your product, Suresh. I absolutely love it because I did spend my career in accounting, actually for government, way back in the day. And I remember having to track down where we'd have to get like competitive vendor bids and everything. But before we could even reach out to a vendor, I had to research and find out, what the going rates were in different industries for different projects. And it was a really tedious part of the job, really tedious, not one that I was a huge fan of. And being able to have that seamlessly right at your fingertips through the SpendHound product, that's amazing.
Yeah, and to us, it's still surprising how many people still rely on Google searches and spreadsheets to sort of manage this process. And so, yeah, I think that like especially with the advent of these AI tools and the integrations with different partners, we're able to unlock more and more visibility these days.
That's
That's
awesome.
great. And that's kind of a good segue kind of into the next question of, we have probably a good number of CFOs and controllers and CEOs on this webinar. So I think the first thing that they also want to know is what's the value? How is AI going to bring value to their organization and most importantly to their bottom line? Linda, do you see AI delivering, how is Sage prioritizing this? Are there any kind of use cases that you can kind of highlight?
Well, one of the things that we probably all know on this call is that controllers, C-level executives are tasked with automating and streamlining processes. That's one of the activities that all of them are tasked to do. And again, if we go back to where are we spending time versus investing time, there's two areas that come to mind that we have addressed with AI. One, of course, is the AI, pardon me, the AP front. The other is time entry. So, how many of us have, worked in an organization, been a consultant where you had to track your time and your time was what was generating the billing. And so you wanted to make sure that you turned all of that time in because it was affecting customer billing, which, that's what we're here for is to generate revenue. If we think about that and we utilize AI to begin the creation of that timesheet, making sure that we don't forget anything, we're picking up activities from your calendars and from your phone so that when we do that billing, we get it out, it's accurate. If we do the same type of activity on the AP side, we automate that so that we're not spending time entering those bills. Those bills are coming in, as JC said, and they're being analyzed utilizing AI and getting them processed quicker. Both of those activities really affect cash flow. And what C-level executive isn't interested in the end result? They may not be really interested in how you get that AP bill in, but they are really interested in cash flow. So if I can get those invoices in faster, more accurately, and get them paid and take advantage of things like discounting, if I can get the time entry in and I can get the billing out and it's accurate, that's going to get my cash flow in a better position. And that's really what I'm looking for as a C-level executive. So those are the two areas that I would highlight that we have utilized AI to bring that to the forefront.
JC, I know on the Bill.com side, or I'm sorry, on Bill side, there is, I think AI plays kind of a big role in just kind of reducing risk and errors, right? Is that kind of where you kind of see some immediate value for your clients?
Absolutely. And I see it across the board. I mean, risk, errors, duplication, savings of time. Everybody's talking about AI. It's the darling of the industry right now. To the point where there's an AI dog. Have you guys heard of this thing? I mean, there's literally like an AI dog. I've heard of it because I have an 11-year-old and this is topic of conversation. Somebody thinks they need an AI dog for Christmas. I'm not sure that I agree on that. But a lot of people are getting caught up in kind of, oh, the fun stuff and oh, we could do this, we could do that. And when I think about it, I think about concrete problems. The concrete problem that we all know is in the accounting industry. We're going to be short anywhere from 50 to 100,000 accounting professionals in the coming decade. We're at a point where we need to work smarter, not harder. We need to enable finance teams to go from looking in the rearview mirror and always chasing down information for their cash flow, to really looking at what was done to being more strategic in the future. So I'm looking for concrete things that can happen that save time and give time back to teams to be more strategic and more creative. So if I am not chasing down trying to code invoices or looking at my cash flow forecasting and I have 5 different spreadsheets, and believe me, I love myself some spreadsheets. I really do. CTO here at Bill is actually the guy who invented pivot tables way back in the day at Microsoft. And I love that, love my pivot tables. But what I can do to get out of having 5 different spreadsheets that I'm having to merge together and update all the time, to actually have seamless cash flow forecasting, what I can do to get out of coding those tedious bills, what I can do so I'm not having to double check every single vendor payment, making sure there's no duplicate payments, what I can do to trust my tech stack to be catching fraud and risk before it happens. Here at Bill, we catch over 8 million, that number is crazy, 8 million instances of attempted fraud every year, and we catch it. We catch it. We are protecting you. That's where I want AI working. I'm still not sold on the AI dog, Tim. I don't know if I want AI handling. I mean, I have enough problems with my real dog. You'll probably hear him in the background at some point during this, but that's what I want AI doing. And here at Build, that's where we're focusing our AI efforts, are the ones that make a difference and that give you back trust, safety, and time, because we know that's what's most valuable to our accounting partners.
Yeah, and you know what, you're right, JC. And it's also not only is there going to be a deficit in kind of numbers of accountants and resources there, I think there's also an expectation that we have to be able to kind of do more with less at this time as well too, and be a lot more efficient from that standpoint. I think the last time I had like an executive admin was about 20 years ago, right? So all of those things are gone by the wayside from that perspective. And the one thing too that I was wondering is, Shreesh, with SpendHound, I know that there is a increased kind of look to kind of do more with less. How is SpendHound, doing that, and evolving from just kind of more of a straight reporting to being part of that decision-making process?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of the same thing that like Linda and JC said. It's like it's all about like giving time back to the finance teams. I think even more so now than we started, we hear these horror stories about people missing renewals because they just didn't have eyes on it and they got stuck with a $20,000 auto renewal on some piece of software, right? And so for us, the way we use AI is really focusing on like wherever the data exists on these like data points of renewal dates, on contract increases, things like that, we're pulling that in and then giving that to the user in real time, right? So we parse the invoices that we get from the ERP or AP tools or the contracts that users upload for us. We get the renewal dates. We send out auto reminders on Slack and email to make sure you have the like forewarning that these renewals are coming up. And then we also surface the benchmarking insights so that you are properly equipped to handle those renewals when they come up and you're not getting caught flat-footed.
I think it
Appreciate
really
that.
allows you to be more proactive is what I hear. You're on the front of it instead of on the back of it.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
many of us, we have more than what we can say grace over. We have a lot of things that we're doing. So anything that technology can help speed that up, can do that work for us, that's what we want to take advantage of.
Exactly. Yeah. And I agree with that. And also sometimes the more that you can kind of be looking down on the kind of the financial factory floor and looking at kind of what's driving some of the variances and doing that versus, and JC, don't get me wrong, I'd also love to get into some of the spreadsheets and understand what's going on there too. But having kind of that having those KPIs a little bit more readily available and understanding what's going on really helps you kind of make decisions quicker. And also I think a lot of this also just it helps to accelerate the close process. So when you're reviewing these types of things, you could see it that much quicker and be that much more of the kind of that kind of right-hand person for your CEO and do those things. So I think that's important as well.
So Tim, I just want to add on to that. You kind of hit a button for me. Close automation is something that we have been releasing over the course of the last 18 months. In the application is called close automation. Underneath that is what we're calling the tools of close automation. You might think of them as components that are part of the close. And when we think about the close, I always think about the kind of status of where are we in the close. JC, you might have been part of this team when you were in accounting. If you're part of that team that's doing all those closing activities, there's someone that is kind of running the show and wants to know, okay, where are we in the close? Have Tim, have you done what you need to do? JC, have you done what you need to do? Shrish, have you done what you need to do? And if you don't have some way to gather all that, then you're going to these people individually. And it's kind of like, chasing your children to figure out where they are. Within close automation, we have one of those tools that is what we call the close workspace. And this is where you're defining all of the checklist, all of the activities, who's responsible for those activities, and where they are in the process. And then visually, you have this monitor, we call it the close monitor, that shows all of that to you in a visual representation. It shows you the tasks that have been completed, it shows you the ones that are at risk. And then if you want to know the detail of that, you can see the individuals that are lacking in turning in or completing their assignments on their checklist. So, being able to utilize that and to see that speeds up the close just because you're not chasing anyone. You know exactly where you are in the close and you know where those bottlenecks are. And you also know who's closed, who hasn't closed, what applications have been closed. So again, this is back to that working smart instead of working hard and letting technology work for you as well.
Linda, I love that you brought up close because thinking back on my early accounting career, yeah, kind of when we are getting towards the end of the second week of the month and stuff still isn't fully, ticked and tied out, you're not completely closed, and the frustration of that. And I know that close was usually like a 15-day process for a
Yes.
lot of smaller firms. And now, I mean, the reality is we have firms, we have companies closing in 3, 4 days. I mean, I know everyone's working towards that 1 day close or continuous close. I do think
Mhm.
there's a future where we get there, but just the idea that it's not, that second week of the month, absolute chaos where everyone's struggling and you're manually going from department to hunt
Yes.
that down. And a lot of the tools that have been implemented with AI, a lot of the automation tools around things like allocations and
Yes.
amortization and things like
Mhm.
that. And it's just speeding up the process for everyone. It's amazing. I look forward to the days where we get to continuous close or single day close. That's kind of the dream.
It is. And, I don't know if this was part of what you did, but one of my early jobs in accounting was to reconcile bank accounts, which was like, give it to the newest person. The lowest man on the totem pole got the bank recs. I had 20 of them.
Yep.
And, those were the old days where you got the bank statement and you got the checks returned to you. I mean, we don't do that anymore. So fast forward to today. Today, we bring in those checks, those deposits, we bring in all that bank data every 4 hours through the Sage Banking Cloud. And I tell people, you could do a bank rec every day. Now, who would want to do that? I don't know, but you could. But think about that close. That's an activity that has to be done before you can complete the close. And if you're waiting on that information from the bank, that's hanging up the whole close process. So now people can do that bank rec every week. And then the last week of the month, that's really all they're dealing with is that 1 week of transactions as opposed to the entire month. So things like that, um, if you're the person that's doing the bank recs, it's huge. For someone who doesn't do bank recs, it may seem like nothing. But if I'm the one that's doing those bank recs, and that's part of what I do to get ready for the close, that's a huge step forward for me. So yeah, I don't want to go back to the old days. I want to keep going forward so we can have, like you said, the continuous close, or a lot of people want to know, will we ever be able to eliminate the close? And, so that's a goal that we have. We're not there yet, but we're moving in the right direction.
Absolutely.
That is a goal, yes, and it's a little bit farther out there, but trying to get closer and closer to it, and having these tools definitely help. And JC, one of the things I think about is, especially in the space where Consero operates, we have, of course, our valued clients, but then in addition to that, we also have the investors associated with those clients as well, too. Most of them VC or private equity. And a lot of what they want to see are things that are kind of, management reporting, or things that are above GAAP reporting. So add backs and things like that are important. And I know that for something like Bill, we were able to add a field into Bill that during the actual booking process of that, to say that this is an add back eligible type expense. So when it came time to do the close, we can not only do our GAAP financial reporting, but we can also do our investor reporting that said, here are the add backs, here are the things associated with a transaction or something like that. And that came in as adjusted EBITDA. So it was a good way of kind of showing this is how we do things upstream, to make sure that that downstream process is that much less painful from that perspective. So it was great.
100%. I always love hearing stories like that. And, for me, it goes back to AI is the buzzword, and AI is super important, but it's so far beyond AI, Tim. And I think that one of the things you said here is super important. You pointed out that you needed something, and we delivered that for you. It's about AI, it's about integrations, it's about automation, it's about efficiencies. It's also about expertise and partnerships. All of this falls apart without the partnerships like we have this group in the room, and without the expertise of partners like Consero. When you combine all of those together, that's really the winning recipe for our joint clients, for our customers, is the opportunity to have the expertise married with the optimal tech stack. And that's really what is going to speed up your workflows and make it seamless to do business.
Correct. And you're right. So it's having the partners and having that tool set, and AI, I think, is just another tool in that set that kind of helps add to the value, add to the efficiency, and hopefully add to the accuracy as well, too, from that standpoint. Right.
Absolutely.
And the data and the things that we're expected to do, you're right, are having that close come down to, instead of B day 10, B day 5, B day 3, you have to have those tools to be successful in that space. So Shrees, on the SpendHound side, I know that SpendHound helps finance leaders surface insights and into kind of complex spend data. Why is Consero such a good partner with that, for bringing that kind of AI powered insight to middle market and PE backed companies that we need both kind of guidance, and we need that technology foundation, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think everyone is more strapped for time than ever these days, right? And so having a partner that can come in and like set up the tech stack you need in record time is sort of important here. Like what we've seen with our early joint customers is that doing the integrations with like Sage and with Bill, like Concero like speeds that up to where it takes like 5 minutes to do a complete onboarding of the integrations, right? So that's like the fastest time we've seen so far, even faster than our own internal team sometimes. So I think that what it really comes down to is like if you need like to set up these tech stacks very quickly and not have to worry about it, that's where someone like Concero comes in and it like just takes it off your plate.
Yeah, and I also think too, and thank you all for this too, because Consero has, 200 plus clients, in this space. So we're not only providing feedback from ourselves, but on behalf of these clients as well to you for that. So it's kind of giving it's kind of like mass feedback at the same time. And I'm, kind of curious as to, how I'm sure that's kind of welcome and also somewhat painful at the same time.
Very welcome. Like more customer feedback, the better.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. The other thing too is that we're seeing this more and more kind of with AI. is that, there's a lot of automation agents and things that are starting to kind of get specialized in this space, things that could be set up for certain clients or certain businesses. Shreesh, do you see that a lot within your business, and JC and Linda same, or?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we're seeing just more. I mean, I think we even, which we're happy to share with the larger group, we did an AI CFO report to see how these tools are being used more broadly in the industry. But what we're seeing is that things like centralization of data, right, in data warehouses like Snowflake and Databricks is becoming more and more common. We're seeing like the use of these sort of like AI in like workflow tools and not just reporting and analytics tools is becoming more common. And the bar generally for all the providers, like including all of us here on the call is getting higher, right? As far as like the value we can provide with these AI tools. And I think that's something that I would, advise every finance team is like expect more from us, right? Expect more from your vendors in like helping you get to like things like the 0-day close, right?
Yes.
I
We
love,
just re
oh,
Oh,
I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry. Go
Linda,
ahead,
please go
JC.
ahead.
No,
Oh.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love what you said there, Suresh, about expect more from your vendors. I think that that is key. And I think that tech teams are taking that very, very seriously. I know we are here at Bill. I know you are at SpendHound and definitely Sage as well. One I'm particularly proud of is our W-9 agent here at Bill. We took a look at the end-to-end workflow that our customers were doing, not within the Bill ecosystem, but what does it take for an AP clerk? From, you know, getting the invoice, or even before that, selecting a vendor, getting an invoice, coding an invoice, approving an invoice, scheduling a payment, getting the payment to the vendor. What are all of those steps, every little micro step that happens there? And we found a huge pain point. And it's a pain point that really resonated with me because my first job out of college was working at a golf course as an AP clerk. And I had joined, and suddenly it's January and it's tax time, guys. I got to get out 1099s, and I found out we had three of our golf pros who had never submitted their W-9s. So here it is, January. There's snow on the ground at the golf course. Nobody's there. I mean, nobody's there. So I am calling desperately, trying to get a hold of these, golf pros they're now down in Arizona where the weather's lovely and
Yeah.
they're still golfing, and they're like, I don't even have my documents with me to get to you. So it was such a struggle. And for, a 22-year-old kid, it was kind of a panic attack, honestly, that I didn't have what I needed to be in tax compliance to send those out. At Bill, we took that on and we built a W-9 agent. The W-9 agent handles the step before everything gets to Bill. You enter your vendor, and when you enter your vendor, we're reaching out to the vendor via this agent, asking them to submit their 1099, or excuse me, their W-9 documentation. Once they submit it, we're integrating to validate the TIN number. So we're validating that TIN number, and then once it's validated, we're opening up that vendor to be able to receive payment. Now, if the vendor has a question, they reply, and agentically, we respond to them, answering them. We definitely have it where the end user can view the responses before responses are ever sent if they want to edit them or whatever. But we used agents to solve a problem that happens even before Bill is getting the invoice or sending the payment. And that's something we're really proud of. And I think that we're going to be pushed to come up with smarter and more creative ways to use AI to solve for those tedious manual tasks that do not need a human touch. It didn't need a 22-year-old panicked on the phone, calling up all these golf pros, begging them, please, I do need your documents. I can't go to my boss and say, we never got these. Please find somebody to send me these documents. That's not necessary. We need agents ahead of time to make sure that everyone is in compliance. And if everyone's in compliance because the agents are doing the work, when it comes time for audits, guess what? It's not that kind of fire drill for everyone because compliance is now just a byproduct of your daily workflow where you're not hunting down all of your documentation once a year when the auditors come in.
That's a
Exactly.
great, I love that because I hear in the background your wheels are turning here, JC. So I'm waiting for that agent that is going to be the one that unloads and loads the dishwasher for me. If you could just work on that and get that agent in play, that would be most helpful. I did want to just tag on to Shresh, the comment about Snowflake. One of the things that we have learned from our upmarket, I'll say, or mid-market customers is that many of them either have Snowflake or they're evaluating Snowflake. So in our most recent release, we announced the release of Sage Data Cloud, which now means they can take all of their data from Intacct directly, automatically into Snowflake. And this is where you get into that analytics and predictive analytics and being able to combine data and, run a Power BI across the top of that and get those types of reports that your C-level executives want. So, good to know that you're on the Snowflake trail.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like more and more it's becoming necessary for finance teams to be more comfortable with these sort of data warehousing tools because they're
Yes.
super powerful. Like, and I think that was one thing that we've seen from some of the best-in-class companies is like finance teams are now not scared to like get access to those engineering tools and data tools that were previously siloed to better power their work.
Yes. And, some of them maybe should be scared, but, uh, some of them are really moving toward that. And, we as a technology company, we have to move with them. We have to be ready for that because that's the information that they need for their businesses. Yep.
Yeah, you need that information for your businesses. You need a combination of financial and non-financial data to run the
That's
business
right.
properly. One of the things that we often encourage at Consero is to leverage those Sage Intacct stat accounts to putting some of the more important ones into your GL, so then you can actually run some of the important calculations that you need to do if it's a average revenue per user or something
Right.
along those lines that are very important. So that's where I think it's really kind of the finance team is becoming that kind of centralized area from that perspective and utilizing all of that data across the way.
I think it's
JC,
because companies want to look at more than just financial data, Tim. I think
oh yeah.
it's because when I look at a Sage Intacct dashboard, let's say I'm a faith-based organization, I'm interested in some of the operational data and how my ministries are tracking the campuses, what my tithing looks like. And, I want all of that information, and it may be coming from a membership solution. It may be coming from another product. That's the beauty of Sage Intacct. We're a best-in-class model. So we're happy to bring that information over from another solution, bring it in as statistical information, and then utilize that across financial information to give you a different view of how the business or organization is tracking. So that's a great shout out with the statistical accounts.
Oh, I love it. I love it because from an investor standpoint, that's the combination of data that they want to see as well
Mhm.
too. So that certainly helps, and it shows how we can partner with our clients to assist with their clients who are the investors from that standpoint. So it's very helpful. But yeah,
Exactly.
JC, I did want to kind of shout out to Bill on behalf of our India team as it relates to the 1099 process that happened in January and how actually seamless it went this year because of things like that. So it was just incredible. So just if you didn't get the feedback from Consero, we appreciate things like that. It's been wonderful.
I so love hearing that, Tim. I really do. Um, Honestly, that is because of my background in accounting. That's probably my favorite thing that we have done so far this year was that agent, just because it's like I feel for that 22-year-old fresh out of
Mhm.
college struggling. And it's like we've solved that. Those struggles are gone. What can we solve next? And it's always what can we solve next? And I'm super excited to see with groups like this working on it, what those solutions are.
Yeah. I wish everybody could either, sometime in their life, either be a waiter and an AP clerk, like do those two things.
Or
And
an AP file clerk. You
exactly.
know,
Yeah.
Yes.
that was the person that, was basically a nobody until the auditor showed up. And when the auditor showed up, that AP file clerk became the most important person in the world because they were the ones that were going to have to find all those invoices that the auditors were asking for. So, yep.
So yeah, absolutely. I know we're almost at time. Bridget or EJ, did we have any questions or anything we were just running on here, but anything else that we wanted to discuss?
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. That's a good point to move on to audience questions. And again, we invite anyone who has any questions, the Q&A at the bottom of the screen on Zoom, you can ask questions there. Still waiting to see. I think we've got just one so far, and that question for teams worried about adaptation, what's one way finance leaders can help their teams embrace automation rather than resist it?
I think it's really about the phrasing and starting small. It doesn't need to be everything. It's really, AI isn't here to replace jobs. It's really to shift us from doing those manual, tedious tasks that don't need a human touch, that we don't want to do. Actually, the stuff for me when I was in accounting, it's all the stuff I used to procrastinate about that I really didn't want to look at or think about. It's really about start small, one task that they don't want to do anyway. Let AI take over, and then make sure that the AI that you're using, that it is good quality. Audit trails are so important. Every single decision that is made, you want to make sure that you have models where you're approving to start and then it's gaining trust, and you're like, okay, go ahead and do it for me next time. But every single decision needs a robust audit trail so you can see what is happening. And then it's just the building block as people gain more trust in it and realize this is just another tool. It's a great tool. It is a wonderfully, beautifully powerful tool, but it is just another tool that frees up our time to be more creative and more strategic and really focus on the things that matter and the things that count, the things that AI can't do today.
Yeah, and I guess to piggyback on that, we've had these sort of conversations internally with different teams as we've implemented more AI and if we've encountered resistance. And I think what we found that really works is, like JC said, like it's the positioning around like, hey, all of the stuff that the AI is doing is all the boring, dumb, menial tasks that you didn't want to do. And so let's focus on like what are the high impact, cool things that actually drive business value that now you get to really focus on. And when we shifted the positioning to that, I think we got a lot more sort of interest and excitement in adopting these tools.
I think you have to remember too, and probably remind your customers that they are always in control. The customer is still in control. And I know JC mentioned this. I'll just reiterate it. It's important that you partner with the right partners. And when you look at the folks that are on this call, specifically, let's call out Consero. They don't partner with this just anyone. I don't think the rest of us do either. We're a little bit picky in who we partner with. We want to make sure that we're aligned correctly, that we're all thinking in the same way, and making sure that we're providing that trust and that experience that our customers need. And I think all of us on the call we work well together because we have that trust and that respect for each other. And that's what brings the great solution together. But again, at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, the customer is still in control.
Absolutely. The customer's in control. And thank you for that note about Consero too. I appreciate that. And one
Sure.
of the other things, Linda, that I wanted to talk about too was that there's the trust around that, and there's also the trust that this AI is just yet another kind of, tool to help with things like month-end close, but also tis the season right now to help with audit as well, and to do those things and to make sure that you're getting that data, those provided by client lists back to the auditors from that perspective, and you're doing it that much quicker. and you're doing it that much accurate, so much more accurately, so much more tied out with all the backups, the PDFs that Bill has, and everything else that is kind of the sampling requirements that they have. And you're doing it in a way that actually is hours wise less than you did last year. So should cost less and should be able to kind of be a lot more thorough and trustworthy. So appreciate that as well too.
It's interesting because even I'll say 5 years ago at one of our customer conferences, we had just released what we were calling checklist. It was just a simple way to put together a checklist. It didn't have anything to do with AI. This was just a checklist. It's a to-do list, but it allowed you to assign those activities to different people and to track them. And we had a testimonial from one of our partners that said, we implemented those checklists, and just that one simple thing that reduced the amount that we paid for our audit because that was our first step in getting some things organized in a better way. And we reduced time in the audit. So we saved money. So we fast forward 5 years ahead now and look what AI is doing to help us reduce those costs, to make those audits more uh, simple and more straightforward and easier, and at the same time saving us some cost. We're not paying as much for those audits because we have that information all right there. We can set up a dashboard, turn it over to the auditor. They can see what they need. We don't have to have that AP clerk digging in the file cabinet anymore. We've got it right there.
Yeah, that's great. And certainly, I think that there's so many good solutions out there, good ways to make use of AI. We have another question that highlights that as well. A lot of software vendors are claiming they have AI right now. Any tips on how to choose one that will actually move the needle the right way?
Yeah, I think shameless plug for SpendHound is like they use SpendHound for this. I think one of our general tenets is like people vote with their wallets, right? So like if with SpendHound we see the software vendors spend transaction across all of our 1,000+ customers. So we offer tools and insights on like what are the tools that are actually being adopted in the market. Because I think it's so easy to like look at like ads, right? You get ads for all these different sorts of AI tools and all the great things they can do. There are a lot of review sites out there where it's like, you can pay for reviews. It's pretty easy to sort of like pump up your scores there. Ultimately, like what people spend their money on will sort of be the indicator of that. So, we offer data on like the trends in these different spaces and different categories, also the churn rates, things like that. So, giving you the information you need to make a better vendor selection at the front of the process.
Yeah, just to add on to what Shresh said, when I'm thinking about what's really going to move the needle for me, evaluating your end-to-end workflow to see where you're really spending time, where there is right now human touch, and look at workflows that are high volume, that are rules-based, that are painful, that are prone to human error. Looking at those, I don't want to spend my time on those. What software company, what tech stack combination can really start to take away some of those pain points? And if you look at the three that we have here, and this is just representative, I mean, you're going to want to look at end to end everything you're doing, but look at the three pieces of the tech stack you have here and think about what they're solving for. And then when you start thinking about the amount of time that that's going to solve, if you're auto coding your bills with Bill and auto routing for approvals and everything, and that's saving you 10, 12, 15 hours a week from an AP clerk, and you're using SpendHound. And with SpendHound, you're, automating so much about your vendor selection because you're making sure you're getting the best deals and your contracts are on time and nothing's auto renewing or no misses. And then you layer on Sage Intacct and you're getting closer and closer to that same day close that we all dream about. How much time is that giving you back? Yeah, that is a lot of value, a ton of value. I always say the greatest gift that we can give is the gift of time, the time to be creative, the time to invest in your business, the time to do what you're passionate about, because I can guarantee that there is likely no one in this room that was super passionate about coding bills and creating journal entries and researching on Google all the different vendors to try and find the best prices and tracking all your vendor contracts in one more spreadsheet. I don't think anybody's passionate about that. If we can automate all of that so we can focus on what gets us up in the morning, what we really want to do to make a difference, that's where I see the biggest impact that AI can have for us.
I just
Agreed.
want to add onto that really quick from a different angle. Um, and that is, when you're looking at who do you partner with, you always want to partner with this person or this firm that is considered your trusted advisor. But with AI, you probably have some questions that you haven't asked before. One of the things that Sage has done most recently is released what we call the trust label. And the trust label, you're going to see on our website, you'll see it branded on some of our events and content. What that means to you is it's somewhat of your blessing that says we are creating AI that is responsible, that is ethical, that is secure, that has met all of the compliances. And it's just that assurance, really, for you. And I don't know other firms that have done this, so I think we may be one of the first, if not the first, to place this trust label. And I believe it's worthy of you understanding what that means to you. So look, I guess you could say look for that trust label and understand the benefits that that brings to you as a customer and a company.
Yeah, and also as a somewhat shameless plug for Consero is we've done a lot of the homework associated with that, and that's why we've partnered with these great software providers and these wonderful people to kind of do those things ahead of time to make sure that we can deliver for you as a client. So I think that that's also kind of important is working with the partners that have done their homework and made sure that these things work. And you can see by just the list of not only who our clients are, but who Sage has clients and Bill and SpendHound and their client list as well too, to see the kind of companies out there that that they're supporting right now. So I think that certainly helps from a credibility standpoint.
Yeah,
Awesome.
very
Thanks so
cool.
much, Tim, and thanks for having us today. It was great to get to chat with all of you about what's probably one of our favorite topics.